Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. General Hospital spoilers: Elizabeth dies, rushes to GH. Cyrus's latest victim? General Hospital spoilers reveal that Elizabeth Baldwin will be attacked this week by none other than Cyrus Renaud. Cyrus believes Elizabeth is investigating his role in the Digitalis killings, and he intends to attack her. Our prediction is that he will wait until Liz is alone before striking, and then surprise her when she least expects him. Will he inject her with Digitalis immediately away, or will he find a method to get her into the hospital and then kill her? Our guess is that Cyrus does not want Liz to live, therefore he will take whatever steps are necessary to get rid of her for good. Cyrus Renaud attacks Elizabeth Baldwin with the intent to kill her. Cyrus' objective is obvious. He needs to assassinate Elizabeth before she turns him in for the mercy killings that Cyrus is responsible for. Cyrus will surprise Elizabeth at her house and attack her. He will attack her with a knife or a gun, or he may stab her with a needle, knocking her out. Lucky Spencer will rush to her aid, but it may be too late. Lucky will discover Liz's lifeless body and rush her to General Hospital. Will he bring her to GH on time? Elizabeth Baldwin is on her last legs after being transported to General Hospital. Lucky will be devastated when doctors Portia Robinson, Terry Randolph, and Isaiah Gannon notify her that Elizabeth is on the verge of death. Lucky will recognize Cyrus as the culprit and intend to pursue him. Cyrus will be outraged to learn that Elizabeth is still hanging on by a thread. That was not in the plan, so he now has no choice except to go to GH and finish the job. Lucky is aware that Cyrus will appear at some point to ensure Elizabeth's death. Lucky will wait for him to arrive and assault Cyrus before he reaches Elizabeth, who is already on the verge of meeting her maker. Lucky and Cyrus will fight over the syringe of Digitalis. Who will win? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you think Cyrus will attack Elizabeth? Do you believe Lucky will be able to save Liz in time? Will Lucky be able to stop Cyrus? GH spoilers: Jocelyn joins the WSB and pursues Sidwell's son to bring the villain down. According to General Hospital teasers, Jack Brennan is looking to recruit Jocelyn Jacks for the WSB. He gave her clues that led her to the conclusion that Cyrus Renaud murdered her boyfriend, Dex Heller, to test her. Brennan believes Jocelyn has what it takes to be a WSB agent, and it is only a matter of time until he suggests the notion to her. She may be resistant at first, but she may eventually come to believe that this is an excellent idea. Especially if Brennan assigns her another trial to find clues in a case. Jocelyn Jacks takes a decision. Jocelyn discovers that she enjoys her work and takes a life-changing decision. She will drop out of PCU and become a WSB agent, working for Brennan in Port Charles. Brennan will be happy, but her mother, Carly Spencer, may not be. Carly is concerned about her daughter's safety and does not believe that working for the WSB is the best option for her career. Not to mention that she does not want her to drop out of college. Jocelyn, like her mother, is stubborn and old enough to make her own decisions, something Carly would soon have to adjust to. Jocelyn may have to go undercover and persuade Carly to keep her affiliation with the WSB a secret for now. Brennan wants Jocelyn Jacks to help him bring down Jen Sidwell, who is currently creating havoc in Port Charles. Brennan would require Jocelyn's assistance in his plot to stop Sidwell. At the same time, Natalia Rogers Ramirez and Jen Sidwell's son, Aloy Sidwell, will be settling in after recently arriving in Port Charles. Brennan will encourage Joss to get close to him and learn everything she can about Sidwell. Jocelyn will do exactly that and discover that she is truly attracted to Aloy. During the process, Joss learns important information that could help the WSB's cause in stopping Sidwell, but will it be effective? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you think Jocelyn will join WSB? Will Brennan urge her to help bring down Sidwell? Will Jocelyn approach Aloy to put an end to Sidwell's intentions for Port Charles? Will she be able to stop Sidwell? General Hospital spoilers: Willow's struggle with returning Lila's ring. Is there hope for a Willow reunion? According to General Hospital spoilers, despite their separation, there may yet be hope for a Willow reunion. A recent scene between Tracy Quartermaine and Willow Tate Corinthos appeared to imply that the super couple's relationship was far from ended, so let's take a look at what we know so far. Willow seems smitten with Drew, but is she truly in love? Fans are aware that Drew Quartermaine has deceived Willow. It takes two to tango, yet he was unwavering in his pursuit of his nephew's spouse. Willow tried to avoid Drew after they kissed in July, but he refused to leave her alone. Drew ended up kissing again and performing the act in the Quartermaine nursery, and the rest is history. Willow will realize she has been duped when she discovers Drew's casual flirtation with her mother, Nina Reeves. Will she realize she wasn't really in love with Drew? Willow is a good person. This takes viewers back to a recent encounter between Willow and Tracy. Willow was in a restaurant with Nina, and Nina was about to tell her the truth about Drew when Tracy barged in and started ranting about Willow moving out. She also said that Willow was still wearing her wedding ring, which also belonged to her mother, Lila Quartermaine. If Michael and Willow's relationship was genuinely over, why is she still wearing her wedding ring? Willow has recently made some questionable decisions, yet she is a decent girl at heart. After all, Drew misled her into using her medical proxy for Michael as a bargaining chip for custody of the children, but when she was left alone to ponder things through, she reversed her choice. If Willow no longer wants to concentrate on her marriage, she will return Lila's ring, but why hasn't she already? Does this suggest she is still in love with Michael? Maybe things aren't as over for Willow as they appear. Could Willow reconcile after Michael returns to town? General Hospital week of February 24th, Carly's disturbing discovery, Cyrus' fate revealed, and justice for Sam. General Hospital spoilers for the week of February 24th to 28th say that Carly Spencer will face a terrible revelation while Cyrus Renault's fate is revealed. Justice for Sam McCall is also coming up, so here's what GH fans should expect. For starters, it appears that Cyrus may meet his maker following a final wave of chaos at his lair. Is Cyrus about to take his own life, bringing peace to all the people he's tormented for so long? Sam clearly deserves to be avenged for what Cyrus did to her. The same goes for Dex Heller and all of the other people Cyrus has targeted with his Digitalis plot. Regardless of how things turn out, Cyrus' death may provide his opponents with something to celebrate. However, Jocelyn Jack's final confrontation with Cyrus will leave Carly Spencer with questions and concerns. When Carly discovers how near Jocelyn came to death at Cyrus' hands, she will want answers. Will Carly learn that Jack Brennan gave Jocelyn the address of Cyrus' hideout? Although Brennan will attempt to erase the damage, Carly will be furious if she discovers he has put her daughter in danger. Since Brennan appears to be recruiting Jocelyn for the WSB, Carly's rage may increase if she finds out as well. Of course, we should discuss about Lucky Spencer because it appears that his loved ones will encounter some scary moments. Lucky will live after one final Cyrus encounter, but his family members may face some nervous moments while waiting for developments at GH. Lulu Falconeri may lean on Dante Falconeri until she is certain Lucky will be okay. Laura Collins will likewise be concerned until she receives good news from Lucky's physicians. Anna Devane may have a mess to clean up after all of the Cyrus turmoil. If Jason Morgan gets involved, the situation might become even more difficult. Speaking of Jason, it appears that he is about to deepen his deception with Sasha Gilmore Corbin over their baby daddy fake. Nevertheless, it's just a matter of time before the truth about Sasha's unborn child is revealed. Sasha planted a kiss on Jason at the police station, and Willow Corinthos got a good look. Although Willow may first trust Sasha's act, gaps in Sasha's story may eventually lead to concerns. General Hospital spoilers suggest the week of February 24th to 28th will be exciting, so we'll share our predictions for what's to come. Will Cyrus kill Liz? Curtis reassures Portia, Brad reconnects with Lucas, Jocelyn wonders what Emma is looking for, Dante encourages Chase to open up, Lulu gets real with Brooklyn, and Cyrus pays a deadly visit to Liz. Portia was looking forward to spending Valentine's Day with her attractive husband, but there is a possible spoiler in the mix. We don't need him ruining our evening, Curtis declares. Is Portia still focused on Brad rather than her date? Speaking of Brad, he's a little overjoyed that Lucas' blind date with the hot model ended practically immediately and they're now hanging together. That's just wrong on so many levels, Brad agrees. Jocelyn is working at Bobby's when Emma comes in to ask for a favor. How does all of this translate into my assisting you? Joss marvels. Can Emma persuade her to do the right thing? It appears like something went horribly wrong following Chase's performance at the Savoy, for instead of spending the night with his wife, the investigator is sitting at a table in Bobby's with his partner. Whatever it is, man, Dante says, you can tell me. Brooklyn has gone to the workplace, where she encounters Lulu and things become hot. If you are not obtaining what you desire, Lulu declares, it is your fault. Are they still discussing the job, though? Liz assumed Lucky had returned for some leftover cake, but when she answered the door, she was surprised to see Cyrus standing there. Knowing how dangerous he is, Liz tries to persuade him to go, but it won't be easy. I'm afraid this can't wait, Cyrus says. Can she get rid of him before he uses the digitalis syringe that he brought? Jason Morgan had never been one for comfort, but the Quartermain house had unexpectedly provided him with solace. He hadn't become soft, far from it. The walls of that mansion were as deadly as the streets of Port Charles, but in a different way. In this case, the weapons were words, and the battlefield was the family name. Drew Quartermain understood this better than anyone, which is why Jason's homecoming disturbed him in ways he couldn't describe. It wasn't just about blood or old rivalries, it was about power. Drew had spent years carving out his own position in this family, and now Jason, without even trying, was making everyone question their allegiances. For the time being, Jason had managed to keep his personal life with Danny distinct from his professional one. However, Drew was concerned that Jason's presence would disturb everything, even his carefully guarded secret. Tracy Quartermain had always been better at the game than most, and she recognized an opportunity when she saw it. Jason had defied Sonny Corinthos by supporting Monica Quartermain and refusing to take her grandchildren from the estate. That had won him a level of trust, which Tracy might exploit if she played her cards well. She'd seen how Jason worked. He wasn't easily convinced, but if he could turn on Sonny, he could certainly be pushed in a different path. That direction, as far as she was concerned, had to be Drew's demise. Jason was, of course, aware of Tracy's plans. He had spent his entire life reading people, recognizing when they had an agenda. Tracy's not-so-subtle tactics, as well as Ned Quartermain's unexpected affection toward him, raised red flags. But he wasn't going to reveal his hand just yet. Drew had secrets, which Jason was going to discover someday. Which one mattered most? He had an affair with Nina Reeves. Tracy kept that ace in her sleeve, waiting for the appropriate moment to reveal it. Jason never acted rashly. He would not disclose Drew's transgressions solely to fulfill Tracy's need for power. He would not jeopardize Willow Corinthos' fragile trust or destabilize Michael Corinthos' world. However, this did not exclude him from acting at all. Drew was an issue, and Jason knew he had to deal with it. The only question was how. Would he allow Tracy and Ned to exploit him as a pawn in their corporate struggle for ELQ? Will he play along for long enough to flip the tables? Jason did not act on impulse, he moved with precision, like a shadow in the night, striking only when the time was right. Drew Quartermain might not have seen it coming. General Hospital spoilers, Michael must return to claim Sasha's child. Can the faulty writing decision be fixed? General Hospital spoilers hint that Michael Corinthos must claim his child, so will a return plot correct an out-of-character writing decision? Michael hopes to return to Port Charles after his recovery, which may provide an opportunity to make some improvements. Although Michael is going through a difficult healing process at the facility in Germany, he is receiving the best treatment imaginable. If everything goes well, Michael's burns from the penthouse fire will not leave him with serious scarring. That's wonderful news, and it could mean Chad Duell returns to the role when the time is right. The show avoided going down a deformed road with head bandages, therefore GH omitted the obvious recast setup and left the door wide open for Duell's comeback. Many fans are already hoping to see Michael return because his storyline has become a complete disaster without him. This whole thing with Sasha Gilmore Corbin simply does not make sense. Sasha told Michael she wants to raise this baby on her own, in part because she does not want the child associated with the Quartermains or Sonny Corinthos mob turmoil. That's why Jason is the worst phony baby daddy possible, given that Stone Cold is a hitman with ties to the Quartermains and Sonny's right-hand man. Sasha is still determined to raise the baby alone, but news is spreading quickly that Jason is the father, and she plans to keep the public believing that. It appears to be an easy method to cause difficulties and possibly endanger the infant. Of course, Sasha is concerned about Michael losing Wiley and Amelia Corinthos in the custody battle. Michael is attempting to conceal his infidelity, but this will be impossible if everyone discovers he is the genuine father of Sasha's kid. Still, it seems out of character for Michael to let Sasha to raise his kid or daughter without him. Michael is a wonderful father who cherishes his children, so it's difficult to believe he could stand by and not claim this baby once it was born. Even Jason felt Sasha was lying when she said Michael agreed with her plan to fly solo. That's why Jason went to Germany to obtain confirmation from Michael himself, because it didn't seem like a decision Michael would make. Michael needs to come home and claim his child eventually, so let's hope that happens. Perhaps Michael's heart will alter after the baby arrives and becomes something he can tenderly hold in his arms. According to General Hospital spoilers, Michael's return might have a significant impact in the future, so we'll keep you updated on any return hints and future story predictions. Lucky Spencer had always been a guy stuck between the past and the present, what was and what might have been. Elizabeth Baldwin was no different. They had a wonderful and terrible history, a love that had burned brightly before being dampened by time and circumstance. And yet, here they were again, stood on the verge of something they couldn't quite identify. Elizabeth had previously faced scrutiny, but the charges against her today were different. The deaths of several patients in her care had placed a pall over her career, one that appeared impossible to overcome. It had begun as regular questioning, following conventional medical protocol, but then the rumors began. Lucky was prepared to leave Port Charles in search of something like serenity, but he couldn't abandon Elizabeth when she needed him the most. He had stepped in, not as a friend or an old lover, but as someone who couldn't stand by and watch her take the blame for something she hadn't done. Cyrus Renaud had weaved himself into the city's underbelly for far too long, and his grasp was beginning to weaken. Lucky and Elizabeth had discovered something, a line that connected the deaths to the scary man who had tormented them both in different ways. They stole documents from Turning Woods, a list of deceased patients with one thing in common: Cyrus had visited them all. The tension between them was palpable. Every gaze, every hurried word carried the weight of their past, the ghosts of who they had been to one another. Elizabeth had always been strong, but with Lucky by her side, she was unshakable. He was impulsive at times, driven by instinct and emotion, but he was also methodical. He had no choice. Cyrus was beginning to panic. They could see it in the way he moved, and how his planned calm was fraying at the edges. He knew someone was after him, but he didn't know who. Not yet. Then came the moment that altered everything. A confrontation occurs in the shadows of General Hospital. Lucky, his heart beating, moved between Elizabeth and the danger that was closing in with each passing day. It wasn't simply about proving her innocence now. It was about surviving. About stopping a man who has stolen too much from too many people. Elizabeth had never needed to be saved, she had saved herself too many times to count. But when Lucky put himself in harm's way, when he decided to remain by her no matter what, something changed. The investigation was far from ended, but they were no longer alone. Their story was not solely about the past. It was about what happened next. And, just maybe, what happened next was them. General Hospital's Maurice Bernard responds to a burning Kelly Monaco question and hints to the former GH star's new job. General Hospital spoilers state that Maurice Bernard recently responded to a burning Kelly Monaco inquiry and hinted at the former GH star's new position. Let's see what Bernard has to say about Monaco on social media. Many fans are familiar with Maurice Bernard's State of Mind podcast, which frequently has guest appearances from other actors to discuss behind-the-scenes aspects as well as mental health issues. Since Kelly Monaco was fired from GH, people have been eager to hear her side of the story. That is no question why Bernard has had numerous requests to feature Monaco on his show. Maurice Bernard felt the need to clarify the matter on X, formerly known as Twitter, and inform supporters that he had actually invited Monaco to appear on State of Mind. Monaco hasn't accepted the offer yet, so Bernard said he didn't want to be too forceful. People constantly asking to have Kelly Monaco on at State of Mind. I have told them to do things when they are ready. I'm not one for pushing. I would imagine she has much more important things on her plate, Bernard added. If Monaco ever chose to share her GH experience on State of Mind, the door is clearly open. However, Bernard recognized that Monaco might be too busy to join him. Kelly Monaco's firing from General Hospital has sparked speculation that she could land another soap gig. It's probable that Monaco will appear on Days of Our Lives, The Young and the Restless, or The Bold and Beautiful. Regardless, Bernard's comment about Monaco possibly having more important things on her plate could be a hint that she has landed a new post somewhere. There's no certainty Bernard has any inside information, but he could have been implying that Monaco was preoccupied with other film and television projects. Although many GH fans would like to see Monaco return to Port Charles, it would be fantastic to see her prosper wherever she is. Sonny's next move will undoubtedly be a feud with Jen Sidwell and a fight to safeguard those close to him. Our forecasts indicate that Sidwell and Sonny's feud could have some unexpected effects once it heats up. General Hospital spoilers suggest Natalia Ramirez will become entangled in all of the turmoil, so we'll keep you updated on all of the disturbing news and intense showdowns. General Hospital spoilers: what obstacles will Sasha face raising Michael's child alone? General Hospital spoilers reveal that Sasha Gilmore Corbin understood why Michael Corinthos was asking for her when he was briefly awakened from sedation. He wanted to talk about the kid she is carrying, his child. Michael understands that he may not survive this struggle, and he does not want his child to grow up not knowing how he feels, or not being properly cared for as he or she would be if Michael were present. He may have passed on the opportunity to renegotiate the terms of their agreement with Sasha, leaving her to bear the brunt of the consequences of his accident far longer than he will have to anytime soon. Michael is on his way to Germany to be treated, which might be a long-term occurrence that takes him away from Port Charles for far longer than Sasha's pregnancy. What will it be like for Sasha and the child while Michael is far away? The divorce is on hold. Had Michael died, Sasha would have felt more compelled to tell people the truth about the paternity of her child. At the same time, it may have driven her even deeper into quiet, fearful that without Michael as a conduit between herself and the Quartermaines, she would lose her kid to them or be compelled to let them into the child's life. Nonetheless, Michael's divorce will be blocked as long as he is in Germany for treatment. As a result, any information pointing to Michael's adultery could jeopardize his prospects of being imprisoned or using Willow's affair against her in court. Sasha will have to remain silent until Michael can address this situation, which will not happen while he is away, which might be a long time given her pregnancy. Sasha never wanted Michael to be involved. Of course, Sasha should not be too concerned about Michael's leaving. He has survived this long, which may give her hope that they may be able to converse again soon. She has time, and now is not the time to make demands of those around him. She can't imagine what Michael wanted to talk with her because they've already worked out all of the details. She didn't want Michael to get involved at all, and he agreed as long as she stayed in Port Charles. But might he have changed his mind, and could she have changed hers after realizing Michael might not have survived it through this? Second thoughts creep in. It seemed like the ideal approach to keep things neat and tidy previously. Keeping the baby's father a secret would keep Michael's marriage intact if he wanted it, and it wouldn't count against him because he cheated on his wife while pursuing her for cheating on him. While the circumstances were vastly different, this is nevertheless an example of the pot calling the kettle black. If Sasha has changed her mind, will she feel comfortable telling his family on his behalf without first getting his permission? Will she wreck everything for him if she does? Drew Quartermaine was always recognized for his strength, resilience, and determination. But lately, those characteristics had taken on a darker tone, morphing into something obsessive and unrelenting, particularly when it came to Willow Corinthos. His previously admirable determination had transformed into something far more frightening, sending shivers down the spines of those who had once trusted him. Drew had been fascinated with Willow for months, reluctant to recognize that she had established a clear boundary between them. Even before their romance was revealed, he had defied her pleas to leave her alone, straining the limits of what should have been basic respect for her wishes. She had informed him unequivocally that she wished to remain faithful to Michael Corinthos, but Drew had continued to insinuate himself into her life, dismissing her complaints as mere barriers to be overcome. Willow didn't hesitate when the truth of their betrayal was revealed. She left town with Nina Reeves and her children, trying to get as far away from the destruction of her error as possible. She desired a new beginning, free from the crushing weight of what she had done. What about Drew? He refused to let go. The calls and texts came one after the other, a constant assault of messages that should have bothered Willow far more than they did. Perhaps she had been too consumed with the consequences of her actions to realize the danger that was approaching her. Perhaps she had convinced herself that Drew's behavior was nothing more than desperation, the actions of a guy who couldn't accept losing her. However, it became evident over time that Drew's fixation was not receding, but rather developing. Willow's love for Drew vanished as soon as she learned the truth about their connection. Whatever connection they had was a mistake, and she would carry that remorse with her. And so she made a decision: she would shut him out of her life permanently. But Drew Quartermain was not a man who took rejection lightly. Willow's actions became more aggressive once he severed ties. He couldn't bear the thought of losing her, of watching her walk away without looking back. The notion of her returning to Michael's arms, of reconstructing her life without him, pushed him into a state of wrath and desperation. He followed her. He observed her from a distance, hiding in the shadows of her daily existence, convinced that if he could just get her alone, he would be able to persuade her to see reason. If he could simply speak to her, she would understand. The phone calls got more frequent and irregular. If she didn't answer, he'd call back. And again. And again. When she disabled his phone number, he explored new means to contact her. Messages sent from unknown numbers. Notes were left where only she could find them. Willow initially convinced herself that it was simply a matter of persistence. That he would ultimately accept the reality and go forward. But then she began to feel it, the creeping sense that she was never completely alone. The feeling of having eyes on her as she walked down the street. The persistent feeling that someone was following her, always just out of sight. She tried to convince herself she was being paranoid. That she was overreacting. Until the night she turned the corner and saw Drew standing there, waiting for her. His face was sunken from tiredness, and his eyes were wild with something she couldn't place, something that made her stomach churn with uneasiness. He asked her to give him another chance, to rethink, and to simply listen. Willow, however, had already made up her decision. When she told him it was over, truly, fully over, something inside him broke. The wrath that had been building beneath the surface burst, transforming his features into something unrecognizable. His voice, which was once sweet and pleading, became sharp and menacing. He wasn't asking anymore, he demanded. That's when Willow understood she was in serious danger. Drew Quartermain was not going to let her leave. In the days that followed, the situation only got worse. Drew was no longer an unwanted presence in her life, he was a threat. He arrived at her house uninvited, his knocks developing into beating when she refused to respond. He cornered her at the hospital, the coffee shop, and wherever else he could find her, refusing to accept no for an answer. Fear grew smothering. She could not eat. She could not sleep. Every sound and movement made her heart race with horror. Then, one night, he went a step farther. Willow had been alone in her apartment, trying to convince herself that everything would be fine, and that Drew would finally give up and leave. But as she turned off the lights and went to bed, she heard it, the distinct sound of a lock clicking open. Her blood became chilly. The front door creaked as it swung open, and there he was, standing in the entryway, silhouetted by the weak hallway light. His look was impenetrable, but his intention was plain. She attempted a run. But Drew moved faster. In an instant, he was on her, his hold firm as he drew her close. She tried and battled with everything she could, but he was stronger. He murmured promises into her ear, assuring her that everything would be fine if she would just stop resisting him and listen. But Willow refused to listen. With all of her effort, she lunged for the nearest object, a lamp on the side table, and swung it as hard as she could. Drew crashed to the ground, blood streaming from a gash in his forehead. For a minute, there was silence. He then took a quivering breath and whispered her name. Willow could not wait to see what he would do next. She ran. Drew had already left by the time the police came. But the fear lingered. Because she finally understood the reality. Drew Quartermain was more than simply a man in love. He was a man obsessed. And he wasn't finished with her yet. Tensions rise, hearts open, and danger awaits at the door. Tensions rise. Curtis and Portia Robinson are still enjoying Curtis' lavish Valentine's Day party at the Savoy when he notices Drew. He protests to Portia that he doesn't need to ruin their evening. Drew has recently managed to mess up everything he touches, but not for himself, he messes things up for others. Will Curtis find a pretext to send his bouncers after Drew to expel him from the sanctuary of his club? Or will he go with the flow, hoping Drew doesn't ruin the big bash as well? Meanwhile, Brad Cooper and Lucas Jones are still sitting at a table in the club, despite Damian Spinelli's failed matchmaking attempt. True, Maxie Jones found Lucas the date, but Spinelli facilitated it, and it didn't seem to work out. Lucas said that he hadn't dated since his divorce, and the man encouraged him to ask Maxie for his phone number and left. Brad now tells Lucas that this is wrong on so many levels, possibly because he believes his date ghosted him. At least that's Brad's expert view on what happened during his ex's Valentine's date. Exasperation at Bobby's. Meanwhile, Jocelyn Jax is irritated with Emma Scorpio Drake. Joss is visibly frustrated with Emma as she questions how all of this translates into her assisting Emma. Emma is most likely attempting to entice Jocelyn to attend her charity event to preserve animals, mainly bunnies. She even has Gio Palmieri scheduled to provide music. Jocelyn has nothing against bunnies, but Emma is definitely causing herself agony. Jocelyn has better things to do, and Emma is keeping her from doing them. Chase is with Dante Falconeri, who is encouraging his work partner to open up. He assures Chase, "Whatever it is, man, you can tell me." Chase had just finished singing a special song at the club that he dedicated to his wife, Brooklyn Quartermain Chase. Chase's most pressing concerns are likely his inability to father a kid and his inability to have his own child with Brooklyn. Dante may empathize, however in his situation, Lulu Spencer was unable to conceive, and Rocco Falconeri was delivered via a surrogate. But Chase and Brooklyn's situation is far worse. They will need to find a sperm donor, which Chase would undoubtedly dislike. Arguments. It appears like Lulu's employment as Brooklyn's assistant at Deception Cosmetics is not going to work out at all at the office. Lulu is telling Brooklyn off. Lulu isn't helping herself by arguing with her. "You can tell me if you don't get what you want, it's your fault." It is true that an employee may require additional clarification on an employer's or supervisor's request in order to complete the assignment correctly. However, ranting at the supervisor or employer is quite counterproductive. All that does is get people in trouble and, in some cases, get them fired. This is known as insubordination. Danger at the door. Cyrus Renaud arrived soon after Lucky Spencer left, posing a threat to Elizabeth. Elizabeth assumed the knock was his, having returned for the slice of cake he had forgotten. Instead, Cyrus glares at her menacingly and refuses to go. He informs the terrified Elizabeth that he can't wait because she's at home alone, and Cyrus arrives with a syringe filled with digitalis. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.